The Mad Master negotiator approached the local aboriginal kingpin. Thoth gasped at the unheard-of impertinence. No one dared speak to a nasty monarch like that. But after all, he has his reasons for saying so, continued the Mad Hermit. He defeated an illegal that could have wiped out the entire empire, and in return for his gratitude, found out he was being used by the local goons. They wanted to dust him off with promises of reward and glory, but that's only for weak-willed heroes, so Hyunwoo was blocked. Living in a medieval barn might appeal to the uneducated schoolboy, the hermit continued. But for a man of a highly advanced civilization, this is nonsense. He turned the blades of Cheek and his soldiers into crumbs. Master Tums was the first to realize what was coming next, and rushed to the defense of the stupid king. His Majesty will bear it all, the knight declared. It seems it's time to show the natives who can slaughter them back to the Stone Age, the Mad Hermit realized, and unleashed some of his magical powers with a clap of thunder. Azam is the king and god who came down from heaven, the Mad Hermit told them. The palantir gleamed brightly in his hand. Strength the main trump card in any negotiation. Again he reaffirmed his rule. The purple ball hid its status data, except for how and what it was for. Hyunwoo heard footsteps behind him and turned around. Nightbelly came out to see him off. Told me not to see him off, or does he want to flip? The hermit asked the knight. But the knight had come to return honor and ask forgiveness. Though he was a vassal of the feckless king, he felt his guilt. He bowed low and apologized, but the hermit brushed them off. He is a simple man. He does not remember grudges. Here's a present. He tossed the native a package for good measure. This is delicious, said the hermit, and settling on his staff, an equal exchange, he remembered the rules of the tower. Rusty commanded the madman and took off for the entrance to the labyrinth. So he won't retaliate, Nightbelly exhaled in relief. But what did the mad guest give him instead of a national treasure? The knight examined the army's dry rations. So many times he's already tasted it, and he still hasn't learned how to drink. Even the hermit was doing better, Master Electric said. So neither to maintain the conversation, nor to pour in time, pressed the teacher Thunderbird. But it's not without reason that everyone, asked a cautious Shuriken, has been drinking and exercising for a day. 100,000 more times and he would definitely outdrink a fifth-rate master, the hunter said. The master only smiled, a yellow-haired student, who had barely finished his studies and was already aspiring to be a master. Electric welding technique is not at all suitable for such a talentless man, he stated sharply, but reassuringly. There is something. Even such a youngster can do well if he learns a simple assembly course, heard the excited Shiken. No longer will they drink and learn electrophoresis, the master declared. Before he started his illegal climbing, he met a stupid guy once. Other than persistence, he had nothing. But that was his strength, just what a Korean nerd needed, the master explained. They're coming, stay alert, warned the mage to his partner. The skeletons of the labyrinth are very strong, he admonished. Everyone take positions, commanded the squad leader. The girl tensed in anticipation of the wave of monsters, following the directions. Something doesn't add up, boss, she asked the squad leader. Though skeletons don't have faces, it was obvious even to the inexperienced girl. That shabby faces flee in terror from the dreaded scourge. The squad leader was dumbfounded. Are monsters capable of such a thing, he asked himself. There's an even stronger monster behind, he realized, and commanded a retreat. But an unknown force had already turned the monsters to ashes, shattering all the bones. Rusty heard the leader shout loudly in the midst of the general commotion. Something long and heavy rushed past them that they barely had time to duck. Which one? Both hunters were dumbfounded and looked up. Wow, the humans showed up, smiled the Mad Hermit. That means he's back on the 9th floor, rejoiced the man with topographical cretinism. Even with a compass, the journey took 2 weeks. He returned to the manor, where he was immediately surrounded by his loyal apprentice. Spit it out! He turned to the Dragon Empress. Ta presented the Mad Hermit with a fox energy ball. This time an unintelligent animal tried to cross the border. The fox shrank with fear and shook all his tails. The girls immediately set about figuring out who got the 9 fox collars on the coat. How did it go? The hermit asked the mad disciples. All by herself, said each of the jealous cats. Fine, he sighed. "Let the first Koshkojena speak," said the mad emperor. "Obey and obey," the satisfied cat rejoiced. The association requested help, and the two girls set out to catch the illegal animal. "It was like that, just a little overdone in the process," the Dragon Empress reported. "A little," the emperor interjected, reading the motley news headlines. However, that was all right, since no one was hurt. "But why didn't they remove the skin?" the hermit asked, to the fox's horror. She immediately chewed off the strip of duct tape on her pretty face and squealed, pleading for mercy to the mad hermit. She has no strength without the ball anyway, Hyunwoo heard, and was surprised the first time an illegal wanted to live in his memory. Without the balloon, the vixen was really only good for a fur coat. "So why left alive?" the hermit asked the mad couple again. Someone interrupted. Agent Rosa replied evasively, dimming her eyes. "Ha, wasn't that her?" the Dragon Empress asked her. They started fighting again and figuring out who was in charge. "So they were going to kill the fox, but they hadn't decided who would get the coat?" the hermit asked them. The girls were embarrassingly silent, even stopped looking at each other. They had always been incredibly strong students, but what a kindergarten, thought the mad hermit. "Fine, Lev," decided the mad hermit. "No one wears fur coats anyway. You want to live, spit out everything you know about the Matrix Tower," Hyunwoo threatened with his fist. He kicked the mad apprentices out of the way and listened to the long story of the talking fox. Some of the information turned out to be useful. The illegal alien was questioned for a reason. Illegal hikers receive a medal for hiking from the Matrix Master and can claim a place at the throne, the hermit found out. But what do these accomplishments mean? Wondered the hermit, and heard the answer: any desired power. Why suffer so much for the sake of some power? Wondered the frontiersman even more. Getting the achievement is like realizing a dream, explained the fox, such as goblins, said she. The goblin can get the kill stick achievement, the fox said, and Hyunwoo asked if that meant he could use that ability. But not only that, the fox stated. Advances allow one to take possession of everything their original owner has. By defeating a swordmaster, an illegal becomes a swordmaster by adopting his karma, all abilities, memories, and habits. Hyunwoo thought about it, getting Electric's karma without 100 years of dueling, a tempting offer. The fox flattened her ears, spilling everything she knew to the mad hermit. "I promise to go to the litter box and not to yak at night, take me," asked the vixen. "We'll decide later," the cold-blooded emperor replied, causing the fox to ruffle its fur. "But maybe she wants to be skinned right away," the hermit asked, and she shook her head. Lord Manganese was once again sitting in the empty atrium at the round table. "Is it true?" asked the lord upon hearing the good news. "There is a possibility that he came closer to the truth," Monk reported. Creepily curious as to what this will amount to, reacted the Lord of Manganese. "This outsider will climb the tower without even being illegal," the monk wailed. He faltered, realizing he'd let himself go too far in front of the Manganese lord. "His words make sense," the lord calmly replied to the monk's apology. "I wanted to see how far this outsider could go. Too bad he learned too much," the lord said. "Send one top-ranking illegal," he ordered the servant monk. "That's right, the Palantir of Truth confirmed the relic to the fence of Stolen Ave. When the waiting time has passed, the Palantir can be peeked into to find out where the creator of the Tower of Learning is. But might as well ask the orb at once who imprisoned him in the tower," suggested the mad hermit, and the android agreed. "Of course he'll get to the creator too to return the favor." Hyunwoo asked if the beastie that escaped from her matrix floor could be petted, and the android hesitated. The illegal fox's strength had weakened so much that it had disappeared from radar altogether, the neural network reported. "There would be no problem if we let her live," the girl concluded. "Still, it's better to be sure. What about putting him on a chain and training him?" she asked the hotelier. "The 9th floor has many interesting artifacts, including a magical chain for role-playing." "And how many relics must be obtained to assemble the device?" asked the hermit lazily, and pulled away when he heard the number 5. "It's simpler than it seems," the girl told NeuralNet. "The relics are in the same hands. Here he has it." He showed the photo of the lucky man to the mad hermit. "Wow, what people and no guards," smiled the mob boss. "The fat dumpling from Montana, a little slimmer, but he's still got some chutzpah on his face. That's better." Appreciated the efforts of a novice master alcoholic electric. "Now at least you won't fall off after the first shot," he said to a cautious Sharken. "Thank you, master," the satisfied, slightly inebriated hunter blurted out in gratitude. "If you're done, get lost. I'm bored with the same toast," said the electrician. Shiken let the phrases pass his ears as it was still blurry in front of his eyes. He looked at the back of the departing master. He had not managed to drink him too much, but at least he hadn't tried in vain. "Thank you very much," the slightly tipsy Shiken bowed again, at the same moment completing the secret level of the Matrix. What a troublemaker, he forgot to drink on the horse, thought Master Electric. But at least he's polite, not like Korea's first asshole Hyunwoo. Shiken appeared in the middle of the ruins. Dark night, not at all where he entered the Matrix. Apparently the hard drive was glitching after all. He perked up when he noticed the sudden change in his surroundings. At his feet lay a multitude of dead and wounded hunters of unknown origin. A new sweetie, met hunter, illegal barbarian with tendencies. "Just sobered up and a job came up," said a cautious Shiken. "Come here, pretty college boy, jumping on the young meat." His hand reached for the sword that lay beside him, but at least he wasn't shaking like a true master. But his skill is more than enough. Shiken got into a fighting stance as well. Master Electric told him an ancient fable about a small but very persistent bird. "It's better to practice 10,000 times one punch than to practice 10,000 punches," Electric said. The warrior was thrown out of the temple for not knowing a damn thing and only messing up, but he didn't give up. He studied one strike and one technique, and that's all he did for 50 years until he became Master Lomister. "Firebrand technique," shouted out the cautious Shiken and took down the pervert with a powerful attack. The mad hermit stared in surprise at the alert that had just appeared. "I wasted Anka's time drawing portals. The illegal alien had already died. The hermit was upset." If it wasn't the students, then who? Wondered the border guard. The gathering of an inquisitive crowd of people suggested where to look for the answer. Oh, not Shiken. The mad hermit recognized his friend. In one motion, he jumped over all the pandemonium and found himself next to his friend. When back asked the hermit, nearly crushing a couple people. Already at home, Shiken brewed a cup of coffee. After vodka with no appetizer, it was going fine. "That bastard!" exclaimed Hyunwoo, after hearing the whole story of Shiken's training from the drunken master. When the hermit was practicing, they didn't even offer him a sniff. They put him right behind the welding machine. The hermit resented. "It's been so long since we've seen each other, don't you want to chat?" The cautious Shiken changed the subject. Wait a minute, the hermit remembered. Had he told him about the latrine, he asked Shiken. Oh, that Shiken remembered, trying to think of a quicker excuse. "Said he wouldn't know how to live without your sound advice," relayed the words of the electrician, Shiken. The mad hermit was indignant at his insolence. Never mind, he was just shy, tried to reassure Shiken. He was actually pleased, noodled by a cautious Shiken. Whatever, the mad hermit changed the subject, sprawling lazily on the couch. It's a good thing he didn't tell him everything, rejoiced the cautious Shiken. He didn't shit in the electrical box for nothing, the mad hermit thought. But maybe he could still tell me what kind of BDSM play with animals is, Shiken asked casually. "We've got a fox. We're training it to the litter box," the hermit said. "An illegal fox. It can be used for fur right away." The hunter got worried. "Mercy! I'll wear slippers!" squeaked the fox. But the hermit shut her up with his finger, threatening to let her buy a coat. She immediately fell silent. Training subject to Shiken concluded with an experienced look. "I was just curious what it would be like to mess around with a fox," the hermit said. "Foxes are not only valuable fur," he told his friend, "but also useful information about the tower." "What if it runs away?" asked a wary Shiken, looking at the fox, powerless with fear. "She won't run far, she's weak," the hermit replied nonchalantly, "and we'll put her on a leash." The frantic students burst through the doors with a report. Shiken only had time to shift his gaze from the apparition and to the mad hermit. "Why are there two of them now?" Shiken cautiously asked the hermit. The second student, Ha Na Rin, introduced the girl Hyun Woo. Two at once, the always cautious Shiken was stunned by his friend's antics. The Rain Man sat in a sky hut without legs, blown about by all the winds, which made the Hatter very upset. It was always raining in his shower. A guest appeared in the heavenly hut. "When will he stop this rain, all the storm drains flooded?" the monk asked him. "Didn't he get Rain Man karma?" the Hatter asked. "I can cry wherever I want," he declared. You must go down to the 9th floor and deal with the outsider, Monk interjected. If they can manage it, they'll pave another lane, the monk reported. If that's the case, smiled the Hatter, we can go for a walk, he said. The lightning bolts of an experienced electrician burst from his hand as soon as he raised it to the sky. Fine, agreed, Hatman Minister. Celestial, sprinkler, 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 will kill everyone, so tell him so, he said to the monk. Alice the fox, nicknamed the illegal animal by a deranged hermit. There's not much pleasant about putting on a collar, sympathized Hyun-woo the animal. But where to go the animal without a leash cannot, and got used to it already, he realized. I wonder how the collar looks in human form, thought the hermit. The android girl and apprentices well done, now the hermit had a will-suppressing artifact. A very handy thing the Mad Emperor thought, if he had to get more slaves. He could now read the vixen's mind, and decided to test the ability right away. The fluffy shawarma was snoozing without hind legs as if nothing had happened. Soft, warm, chugging behind the ear, feeding high, he read the fox's thoughts. Why the hell did she go to the tower if she wanted to lie there and enjoy herself, the hermit wondered. Other illegals went all the way to the end to earn karma as if their existence depended on it. One day I'll ask her why she went into the tower, the mad hermit decided, looking at the fox. A guest came into the house and he turned around to greet her. Sweet Seo Yeon said hello to the not-so-frequent guest in her own home. The pretty girl had come to study Taoist magic, the hermit recognized. Kiss, kiss, called out to the pet fox, Beauty Seo Yeon. She jumped up at the same moment, wagging all her tails. They settled in like homeschooled students. Hyun-woo didn't understand a damn thing the girls started talking about. First, Shi-hyun got a discharge from Master Electric, now cute so young, learning Taoist magic from Fox Alice, thought the hermit. Not the slightest clue what was going on, as if they were speaking Elvish, Hyun-woo decided. But the lovely Seo Yeon, she was studying so hard that she couldn't take her eyes off, so she'll do well, the hermit thought. The Truth Palantir rebooted and ready for use, Hyun-woo received a system notification, which made him quite happy because he had been waiting for this for a long time for the main quest. Even the white-haired android met him dutifully at the living room table. On such an occasion, she even refused to play games, marveled the mad hermit. Can the balloon be trusted as much as Av? Hyun-woo asked with a squint, but the fortune-teller Neuronet pulled out a purple Palantir and embarked on a seance in search of the developer's spirit. Hyun-woo was surprised as this was the first time he had seen the source code. Before this, the system had only shown itself through the interface. He squawked at the bright light of the system notifications that threw the orb when it was turned on. The balloon had a firmware change and was now running better and faster. A white-haired android in the guise of a cute girl wiped away non-existent sweat as if she'd unloaded a railroad car. The Palantir worked on the principle of a modem and allowed you to search for the answers you wanted, the android explained. Formulate a question mentally and you'll get the answer. That's the whole instruction, the hermit learned. Time for important questions, Hyun-woo thought, choosing his search words more carefully. Even the little android covered her mouth to keep her non-existent breathing out of the way. The mad hermit recalled how the curse of the tower had been placed on him. Like being separated from dear friends for 12 years. Like being made to go crazy climbing the tower over and over again. Who had locked him in the tower sounded the ultimate question in the hermit's mind. The modem was silent, and Hyun-woo even touched it lightly with his fist to check if it was working or not. The Palantir hummed harshly with its cooler, but refused to give out information. Maybe you should tap it to get a better signal. That's what my dad used to do when Hyun-woo wanted to kill the slow modem. The little android could barely contain the mad hermit's rage. As the connect passed, a light discharge on his fingers felt Hyun-woo. Ego was ported inside the modem's hard drive so fast he didn't realize it right away. Communication is one way, stated an unknown voice in violet space. The hazy image of a man flickered ahead as if someone had hidden him. But the feeling was more like that of Av's neural net, just as inanimate. The hermit sensed from the voice. Hyun-woo demanded clarification, but the image reminded him that communication is secure and about one way. Find the developer's tower at the source of the bad weather, conveyed an image-encrypted message. Then he would know the truth about himself, the image enigmatically said, which annoyed Hyunwoo, who wanted immediate answers. The frontiersman must find him, the image told him, for he was the one who had locked him in the tower. Having said that, the image began to fragment, as if someone had erased the message they had listened to. Hyunwoo rushed over, was to hold back the escaping information as if he had forgotten that he wasn't in physical space. "Guardian!" the white-haired girl shouted above him. It seemed that only his consciousness, not his body, had been ported into the modem. The mad hermit rose, gradually coming to his senses. But what was he going to do, bringing his hand up for a punch? Asked the worried neural network mad hermit, and why his cheek hurt. Av replied to him that it just went down after connecting to the modem. Hyunwoo's hunch was confirmed. He was in that place with only his mind. The message left more questions than it answered. What else was the truth associated with it, the hermit recalled. Trying to reconnect again, he inquired, but the modem had gone on perpetual recharge. He seemed to be in a bad mood, the android girl remarked, but Hyunwoo told her that he had something to do. Yeah, and there's one huge question. Who is this crooked developer? Now his target, the creator of the tower, the one who called himself the developer. Whatever the truth was, the mad hermit promised to get to the bottom of it. "What's the developer tower?" he asked Av to find all the information about it, stroking his head. With that, he was about to deflect, dumping all the system work on the neural network, but she held him back. "Did you find it so quickly?" he asked. But that wasn't the point. "It looks like it's necessary to go immediately," worriedly blurted out the girl Neuronet. An illegal conqueror who had already gotten karma climbed to the floor, Av informed him. Taoists are those who practice self-discipline and live off the donations of others. Lazy bums that puff people up with pseudo-philosophy about exaltation and celestials. Usually he didn't hurt anyone, but there were those who took orders to eliminate. The hatter looked thoughtfully at the city below. Come to think of it, he didn't know who the outsider was, and he needed to be found, though tedious. "We should just kill everyone," said the pseudo-philosopher fascist. The people below were running and taking cover from the sudden downpour, when a multitude of lightning bolts struck the buildings, ignoring the lightning rods. Panic rose, and they ran as if they were being attacked by monsters. The hatter gained celestial karma simply by climbing the tower, became immortal by killing the blue dragon. The media, as usual, went into a frenzy over such a brutal attack. 1 hour was given to a hat fascist, threatening the residents of the 9th floor of the Matrix. "Don't pull, let the outsider come in," he stated into the lens of the video camera. Hyunwoo contacted the association's headquarters, much to the relief of President Qui-Gon. It's embarrassing to admit, but without Kim Hyun-woo, they weren't capable of dealing with illegals, thought the president of the Hunters Association. Sometimes the thought crossed his mind that maybe the world really should be destroyed, he muttered aloud. And they're already living longer than they're allowed to after so many disasters. It looks like Hyunwoo is the only one keeping the world from collapsing, Liam pondered, but he was called away. No matter how strong the enemy was, they only had to have faith in the mad hermit. The Nazi in the hat yawned tiredly. He was waiting at the spot he had just cleared. Time crawled by snail's pace for an immortal slacker. Maybe finish what the non-human in the hat had in mind, but changed his mind. He felt someone's swift approach in the air. What is it, he wondered as he watched the veil of clouds and rain break through. "There he is!" exclaimed the hat monster joyfully. The outsider has arrived, he realized as he spotted a guy in a sports coat riding a bailout stick. Hyun-woo flew, covering his face from the rain. Streams of water soaked his suit and obstructed his view. Some electrician turned off the lights again, and he lunged at the illegal. The hatter saw off his movements with a cheeky smile. He ducked easily, as if becoming a ghost would be more than the hermit realized. "The Skywalker can walk on air," the hatter declared of his chits. Hyunwoo barely kept his balance on Rusty, shifting his weight to the other leg. "You're smiling, electrician. Let's see how you smile now." The hermit returned the grin, and pulled Berserk's inferiority complex out of Hermione's sack. It made even the bum in the hat's testicles clench. "Size matters," said the mad hermit cheerfully, and knocked the bird with a steel rail to the hard ground. Did the bastard slip away? Hyunwoo thought as he surveyed the landing site. No way without compensation, the hermit heard, a voice from beneath the rubble. Not called an outsider for nothing, the illegal bum stated. Not even his stupid hat was harmed, the mad hermit remarked. Exactly right. Just someone has a small sword, the hermit said. And where does such power come from on the 9th floor? Wondered the lazy hatter. You can't kill just like that. You have to cut it up properly and study it, ignored the fascist Hyunwoo. The mad hermit was angry. This illegal was steaming his brains more than before. Hey, Mr. Shortshot, why the hell did you turn off the power in the whole town? Oh, the character of a pervert. Tough luck? Teased the lazy hatter. I hear from a ballet dancer, answered the mad hermit. What an uncouth bumpkin, the hatter returned the hermit's insult. And he can't do anything but women's dances, the hermit said. The hatter got angry and was the first to lose his temper. What does this monkey allow himself, he thought. It's a man's suit, not a woman's dress, the hatter blurted out. Pathetic excuses, it's just a hobby. Everyone has one, the hermit remarked. That he hadn't heard of the ancient Taoists, the hatter was angry. Oh, are those lazy bums from kung fu movies still flying cables? Hyunwoo asked. The hatter blurted out, and Hyunwoo honestly admitted that he didn't go to school. After all, his parents died a long time ago, and since childhood he had to work to survive. The hermit said, and kicked the illegal intruder with all his might. The blow hit the target well, and the hatter flew off again. I thought celestials are known everywhere and revered everywhere, but here it's just rednecks, shook off the imaginary Taoist. I'll have to teach the mind who the immortals are, said the man in the woman's dress in serious cheeks, thought the hermit. I beat women, too, the hermit admitted and pulled out a bailing stick. The hatless hatter struggled to hold back the blow with his sword scabbard and responded with a powerful chopping attack from above, but the mad hermit dodged and immediately got a counterattack from the hatter, who fought without taking out his blade. They exchanged a couple punches as Hyunwoo was surrounded by clones that the girlfriends had brought. He asked the hatter. The technique is not new. Uses who only wants it, resented the hermit. He was surrounded and mobbed, as is proper in a fair one-on-one fight. Whoever didn't bring friends was at fault. With a powerful attack under himself, Hyunwoo broke free from the encirclement and soared into the sky. To create doppelgangers, you have to read the Hokage's secret scroll, Hyunwoo heard. A blue Dao mandala lit up behind his back. The enemy had used an unknown skill. The restraining magic of the chains broke free from the mandala behind her back. Will there be no bazooka? Hyunwoo asked angrily. The enemy had many abilities. 2 dragons, the anode and the cathode, explained the illegal electrical engineer without a hat. Now how to close the electric target, then we'll see who's a baller, gloated the lazy Taoist. Hyunwoo short-circuited heavily between the dragons, one surrounding with water, the other hitting with electricity. The invigorating shocks crept under her skin, bringing back recently forgotten feelings. The sparks decomposed the water into ions, and a hydrogen explosion occurred. Learn chemistry well, kids, thought the Taoist slacker to himself. What choked the immortal as the cloud of vapor dissipated? Have met various electricians before. Thanks for removing the circuits, thanked the mad hermit. And now it's time to end the dance. Hyunwoo was angry. The absurd calligraphic kick of his foot knocked the Taoist to the ground again. The winged hermit landed at the crash site of the Skywalker. Good thing he didn't die right away, the illegal Taoist said. The outsider needed to be alive. Clones have a small sword, too, the mad hermit asked. Discharges of red lightning burned the air around the clones. Hyunwoo shattered the inferior illusion technique once. Why didn't you tell me you had a welding license? The Taoist resented. And why speak when you can show at once? Replied the mad hermit. Just as I'm about to weld all the holes, Hyunwoo punched the Taoist. And who gave him a grade? The hatter gritted his teeth. The outsider was pulling a 5th, if not higher. Birds flying low to rain, the mad hermit noticed. A few drops fell on his face. I hope it's really raining, horrified the hermit. Rusty, saddled with a stick by the mad hermit to climb higher. The clones certainly wouldn't have been able to drop that much. So the rain was real, and something was coming, the hermit realized. In the midst of the heavy downpour, the Taoist's caustic chuckle rang out. Now we'll see whose kite is longer, the mad hermit heard. Where he hid the boa constrictor, the mad hermit sensed something amiss. Needing to stop the hatter as quickly as possible, Hyunwoo changed the trajectory of the bailout stick. A hail of lightning from all directions fell on the hermit as the Taoist recounted his boring biography. Hyunwoo extended his staff again and tried to brush off the pesky narcissist. The point of his long life of waiting for the water to flow under all the rocks, he gathered mana at one point. The mad hermit missed and lost his footing, began to fall. A ball of lightning of enormous size exploded in front of the hermit. We need to finish off the illegal installer before he shuts everyone down, thought the hermit, falling down. The distance kept increasing between them, but he had a disadvantageous position from below. Suddenly to himself, the hermit took quite a bit of damage. The immortal hatter who lost his hat stood in the sky and gathered more strength. Super mutant mode. Activated! The Taoist smiled, starting the second phase of the battle. He drew his sword, and his hands and feet became chicken feet. Hyunwoo made a superhero landing and came to his senses. The chicken dragon Dao had already attacked him from close range. He accelerated noticeably that Hyunwoo could barely keep up with the mutant. They crossed their guns, shooting sparks in all directions. The electric arc swept over the insane hermit himself, and who promised to show a masterclass in seamless welding, welded a chicken hybrid with a discharge. "I'll be right there," the hermit replied, "but I'll just put in a thicker electrode." But the chicken does slashed not weakly at the lightning bolt, stunning the hermit. He spat blood. It was no joke. The second phase of the battle was making itself felt. No one gave a rest. The chicken douse pounced on top. They fought in streams of electrical discharges, jumping here and there. The mad hermit took a lot of heat for every blow. "Chernobyl bastard," he motioned desperately to the Taoist. But the chicken's foot pressed against his chest with the arcing discharges of multiple bolts of lightning. "It's not working," the hermit gritted his teeth, and yet he had defeated a fifth-rate electrician. He jumped back sharply to break the distance between them and buy some time. The hermit would have died many times over if he hadn't undergone master electrophoresis enhanced training. "A douse with the strength of a chicken dragon couldn't be killed so easily," stated the hat, knocking out a spark. In the pouring rain, he gathered the lightning bolts into a tight bundle, raising a chicken's foot. A torrent of encouraging discharges of high power descended upon the mad hermit. Each raindrop contained lightning, and the discharges had more power than before, the hermit realized. Taking out a bailing stick, he unfurled it in the manner of an umbrella to keep the rain off his body. Mimicking a helicopter, mocked the chicken leg at Hyunwoo. "A helicopter will not save you from a relaxing electric massage," chortled Chickenfoot, as the hermit was chilled to the bone. Hyunwoo was in distress. He couldn't even use Av's bailout room and sneak away to her place. "Well," said the lazy Taoist, in the world of electrical engineering, has many more thrills for the hermit. The massage worked perfectly, completely relaxed the whole body, stated the Taoist, evaluating the results of his work. "So great that the client is still conscious. A great consumable for testing," heard Hyunwoo's voice from above. "As a thank you for choosing our services," scoffed the Taoist, "I will show the final technique of full electrolysis." "The coming of the chicken dragon," the Taoist said, and a large face appeared in the sky. A suit of lightning bolts lashed out at the defenseless hermit. He grabbed the bailout stick in the manner of a lightning rod and squeezed tighter. It was unlikely to help, but what else could he do? The Macaca King's voice came from the bailout stick. Hyunwoo didn't immediately realize where he had loaded to. The battlefield with the chicken Dao had disappeared. Instead, he found himself in blurry mountains with a couple of pine trees, obviously in an incomplete level of the matrix. The wounds were gone, too, the hermit noticed. If post-mortem had happened, he thought when he was called. "Couldn't strangle the boa constrictor dummy," said the Monkey King. "What are you hatching? You were the first to start measuring who has the longest and the right. You said so, sarcastic macaque." "Oh, there are monkeys in the forest, too," remarked the hermit of the Macaca King. Hyunwoo asked where they were, and the macaque wondered what definition to give to the special level of the matrix where they were. "He doesn't know himself, and he's being clever." The hermit paused. The situation was about the same as with Master Electrician. Consciousness connected to the secret level of the matrix, with a separate processor that ran faster, and that was why Hyunwoo hadn't died yet. "And what next?" The mad hermit spat on the cold stones. Pretty soon he will die from the chicken dragon's final blow, realized Hyunwoo. So will you give strength? He asked the macaca king. Why all of a sudden? No, of course, teased the cheeky monkey. Just a break between rounds. It's nice to watch a man being mutilated by a lizard, laughed the macaque. Now let's see if there is pain in this world, raged the mad hermit. The monkey, the zookeeper, the illegal menagerie recalled to macaque everything Hyunwoo had told him before. And now you come and ask me for power, but you do it without respect, Monkey said in a picture voice. In principle, it is possible. If you ask nicely, I'll take pity. The talking monkey gritted his teeth. The boa constrictor has to be strangled somehow, Macaca said. The hermit seriously wondered if it was worth it or not. Maybe he should just quietly weld the monkey. Forget it, he decided when Macaque was ready to make concessions. The one immediately squealed, how so? But the hermit waved it away. He didn't need that power. In the end, what could an already dead monkey do? Even take out his power? Hey, a viper would definitely be strangled. The macaca king couldn't stand the ridicule. You can't prove it if you don't show it, said the mad hermit. Show me how to strangle a python, suggested Hyunwoo, to the macaque. The monkey king realized what a cunning trap the little man had driven him into, and he could not refuse his words. So brave, and now head in the bushes, asked the mad hermit. What a nasty homo sapiens, the monkey king thought to himself. A rare bastard, he said to the hermit. Life is like that, excused the quickly demented hermit. The image of the chicken dragon was rapidly approaching the helpless target. The emo Taoist was already anticipating the reward he would be given for the outsider's head. But what is that going on down there, where the dragon should already be atomizing the frontiersman into atoms? The Taoist asked himself. Red lightning bolts burned through the image of the chicken dragon, meaning the border guard was still alive. A supernova star lit up below, so brightly flashed the point where the hermit stood. The star exploded, dispersing all remnants of the chicken darken. The snake had been strangled. The emo Taoist was horrified. How was that possible, he thought. And the coil of Tesla under him did not think to subside, continued to send discharges, until a mad hermit in a monkey king costume jumped out in front of him. The snake has been strangled. We will strangle the lone chicken, smiled the hermit. The monkey king saw off the insolent guest, who disappeared without even saying thank you. Well, they had a quick contract, and a pretty lucrative one at that, Macaque pondered. He thought it would be possible to extract favorable terms on pain of death due to time constraints. But the hermit is either stupid and therefore not afraid of anything, or really reckless, Macaque recalled. On the other hand, for his purposes, just fine, Monkey decided. If Kim Hyunwoo is really the outsider that he is thought to be, he's a monkey's pact. He looked around the vacant lot he lived in, a reward for being an illegal once already. A bare rock, that's the whole apartment. But maybe with the crazy hermit and the rights will work out, Monkey thought. And he was still talking about dresses and himself. Rain Man was horrified. The mad hermit sped past as if riding a rocket. Wait, shouted after him Emo Boy. Don't, Uncle, Uncle! The rocket broke through the dense veil of clouds and flew farther away. High enough to ask the mad hermit at the bailout stick. He thought back to the plan they had worked out together with the macaque. Let the blue dragon chicken's strength be great, but not to this extent, Macaca said. This one is definitely a cheat, Monkey said. But there it is, exclaimed the hermit. Hyunwoo shrank the bailout stick and swung it around before the Emodaos caught up with him. He smashed the electrical panel that powered the blue dragon chicken. Do you think you can win now? The Emodao asked. Why, yes, answered the mad hermit with a question to a question. He had obtained the Monkey King's golden armor with good insulation, and now he could not fear the chicken Dao's lightning bolts. Ugly, he lamented after shutting off the arc welding. The cheater needs to be set straight. The hermit swung the stick. By now Hyunwoo could already crowd the fidgety emo Dao. A knife would still be fencing, the hermit scoffed. Now he had more advantages again. Frankly speaking, the emo Taoist was good with a sword and moved very fast, the hermit noticed. But compared to a fifth-rate electrician, his movements were mediocre. The crazy asshole has spent 100 years honing his swordsmanship on a stealthy level. No one can compare to Chong Ma. He sent the arrogant Emo Dao flying. A stick massage is as good as an electric massage, the hermit said. This is not a massage, but a real flogging. Pain is free. You don't have to worry about it, the mad hermit replied. Emo Dao literally exploded with anger. Hyunwoo clenched his eyes as the stone shards scratched his face. Now let's see who's the chief masseur and electrician in the neighborhood. The emo dows took off and sparked again. Show, again a downpour of emo dow from the sky. Hyunwoo was upset. With his finger he beckoned the discharges and clouds as if to a lightning rod. Chicken Dragon's power was still with the Taoist, and he threw all the lightning bolts at the hermit. The discharges covered Hyunwoo. In his armor with good insulation, he could not fear heavy breakdowns. He smiled. If two are equal, the one with the better defense wins. He remembered the ancient principle of the tower. What? The emo Taoist didn't realize, noticing the massage stick near his face. It was the third time the hermit had brought the lazy Taoist down from heaven to earth. One should always learn. Thanks for the informative lecture, said the hermit. Now let's test all his knowledge on the teacher, smiled the mad student. Chicken Dragon Force, thank you for the new technique. Hyunwoo released all the mana. He pinned the Taoist lest he suddenly escape, with the Demonololi technique. Black Rooster Dragon, shouted Hyunwoo, infusing absurdity power into the technique. For such a massage, the emo Dao was definitely not ready and panicked. He ridiculously put out his sashimi knife to defend himself, but the black chicken dragon swallowed him whole like a nut. As usual, the mad hermit stood in the midst of ashes and devastation. The special pelt monkey armor itself came off of him when it ran out of mana. The hermit flopped on his back after a hard massage. Time to use the cheats is up. Good thing my arms and legs are in place, thought the hermit. Before I pass out, time to check the artifacts, he said, and looked at the blue orb in his hands. But the information was even more classified than before, the hermit marveled. Screw it. It's still a pawn shop to carry an android to an appraiser of stolen goods. In the meantime, we can sleep and wait for the evacuation team. The hermit relaxed and snored loudly right in the middle of the muddy swamp that the city around him had become. 3 days later, Agent Rosa saw him off from the sanitarium. Straight home, he asked the hermit. Where's the first one? Hyunwoo asked. Rose smiled slyly and said that Miriam was busy, although she was the one who gave her the job. It's been a while since I've been to the guild. It's time to clean up the mess so that the useful goons don't relax, the hermit decided. The second Koshkojin humbly took a seat beneath the mad emperor. Ta smiled triumphantly. Now she was alone with the master. While that girl is gone, we need to seize the moment. Agent Rosa's ears perked up. She had specifically told the driver to take her time, and now she could stay with the master longer. Or maybe even, dreamed the girl, when the mad teacher said he was going to leave. I will when I get back, the hermit replied to the bewildered girl. Just took and slipped away, could not reconcile with such a turn of Agent Rosa, not already to another. She was horrified by her thoughts. A mute question, and that now rang out in her mind, the whole plan to the cat's tail. Just circling the neighborhood, gave the order, Agent Rosa, to the driver. Once a girl decided something, there was no stopping her. She'll be sure to take her time with the master one-on-one. The android appraiser was fidgeting with the hard drive dropped from the Emodaus. But the assessment did nothing, even with the white-haired girl's hacking skill. Apparently there was nothing to be done, the mad hermit realized. The thing might as well lay down. What about the developer and his secret apartment? He asked the neural network. This secret level is at the very top of the level tree, Av answered him. What else is the top of the tree? Wondered the mad hermit. The developer has put together a special level, but it's not clear for what purpose, the android girl reported. Just need to go up, resulted crazy Ochelnik, but the problem is where this top added android AV. The place in the hierarchy of matrix levels is known, but where he is physically in the memory is difficult to understand, the girl explained. Hyunwoo, who didn't go to school and didn't know the slightest technical details, just tell me what to do and where to go, thought he. It'll take a little time to figure it all out, calmed him down android girl. He remembered the developer's vague encrypted message. It would not be easy to understand. Wait a minute. A great guess occurred to him. The hermit jumped up. What if one used Chicken Dragon's energy source and Master Bonsai's portmanteau? They should be enough, Hyunwoo suggested. With that, he walked back and was immediately surrounded by the scent of rose-scented perfume. The blooming girl smiled welcomingly. Why is it taking so long to get there? He got upset, to which the girl replied that it was just traffic jams. She gently leaned her head on his shoulder. He could feel her shampoo. She seems to be in a good mood, as the social hermit always failed to read people. Maybe she just likes riding in the car, wondered the goofy hermit. The king has arrived. Fall down, Hyunwoo said, and opened the doors without knocking. How unexpected to catch a couple in each other's hot embrace. BTW, smiled the cat, but the mad hermit still didn't understand what these people were up to. And when it started, he asked his best friend that he started dating a slave girl, 5 minutes after figuring it all out. Before sending Hyunwoo to the association, the cautious Shuken said, after a battle with the illegal fat lion, Anya supported him, the humble hunter said. Hyunwoo looked at both of them carefully. He basically didn't care what the slaves did as long as they worked. This isn't an interrogation, wondered the hermit at the reaction of the confused men. He looked sternly at slave Anya. She had been acting about lately. Still, she has a dark past in the costume gang, and Shay Ken, his dear comrade, the hermit pondered. The past is in the past, however, he decided, but it sounded like a lord's blessing. But there are cozier places, the tactless hermit wondered, which made the couple shy. Master, the slave turned. There is a contract for him, she said. Agent Rosa immediately perked up her ears as soon as she heard it was a contract to advertise Abiba's suits. Master clutched the girl's hand in his while Hyunwoo listened to the terms of the contract. Money, money, and more money. Agent Rosa explained lucidly the benefits, but she was clearly not interested in them. We should definitely go, the girl urged him fervently. She did it so insistently that even a couple in love were surprised. A few days later, Shuken was on the podium at a press conference. Cutie. So-yeon was watching the broadcast in the dressing room and was waiting for a friend. Good performance, she encouraged the always reserved Shuken. She did a good job, too. He returned his thanks to the cute Seo-yeon. After the Border Control Guild forced Aries out and took their dungeons, the Korean Hunters Association began to come to life like after a rainstorm. Hyunwoo didn't break the price, and now hunters could develop in low-level dungeons. The guilds of friends also acceded to the hermit's terms and formed a cartel, but agreed not to jack up prices. So far, there are no problems with profits and competitors, and none are foreseen, concluded a cautious Shuken. But, he thought and got distracted, something was confusing him. Isn't it Alice the Fox? He asked the cute Seo-yeon, and what is it chewing on? Snacking on cat treats, So-yeon said, scratching the fox on her lap. Cute little vixen, really, she said to a cautious Shay Ken. Don't worry, said Baby. So young, she is litterbox trained and rides in a carrier. Shuken hesitated. From afar can be mistaken for a cat, of course, but is it normal? Still, the creature is half human, half fox, tensed Shuken. The mad hermit was put in interesting poses and filmed. But what it meant, he never realized how it had come to this. The dummies in the studio are silk, the antisocial hermit remarked. A job is a job, he reassured himself. If he had signed up, he had to do it. But the photo shoot for the tracksuits evolved into something else entirely unnoticed. What's with the flowery poses? Perplexed the mad hermit. The two devoted disciples enjoyed the process and waited patiently for him. Oh yes, gleamed their eyes with a conspiratorial look. Good job, praised the hermit photographer when they were done. I'll get the suit, said the suddenly awakened mob boss. I'll take my leave now. The hermit waved goodbye. Not only was the money given, but he also squeezed out the suit. The hermit rejoiced. As Mi Ryong returned, the piece was gone. Even a simple ride in the limo felt like being between a hammer and anvil. Scylla and Charybdis were arguing over who would sit next to the master, their shouts ringing in their ears. Tomorrow, the portmanteau will charge into the labyrinth to open the chicken dragon's hard drive, the hermit thought to himself. I'll definitely go alone, he decided, after only a glance at the two beasts, if I should get a third one for balance. Late at night, the photographer was processing the images. The shoot was a success. The silent shadow of the Dragon Empress' personal guard grew from behind. Mistress's will is law, whatever she asks for, pulled out the guard's pocket knife. The monsters were raging on the 14th floor of the labyrinth as they heard a scream. Rusty flew at the runny faces with a long stick. All died quickly and almost painlessly, with a single blow from the hermit. You're holding the extension stick wrong, grumbled the annoying Makakis. Now they had a permanent connection. It was so quiet, the hermit resented. Now we have a contract, Monkey declared, and the stick must be used properly. Learn the art of the killing stick, Makak said. But when Hyunwoo replied, well, you could always try out new skills on dummy monsters, the hermit decided. Doesn't know anything at all, Makak lamented. Hasn't even heard of the principle of borrowing power, he asked Hyunwoo. Illegals borrow strength from those of higher rank, but if the difference is too great, it's useless. The power can't be used, explained Makak. Bullshit, the hermit replied to this and pissed off the hairy ape. Bald dumb monkey, without skills with a stick, the Monkey King's strength won't show itself, yelled the hermit Makakas. A digging stick is useless in the hands of a dumb macaque, and useful in the hands of an intelligent one, which is not clear, wailed the king macaque. All right, I'm tired of listening to the monkey's inane squeals, hermit. Macaque did have a good handle on his staff, combining punch combinations well. To try everything out, the mad hermit went down to the level below, where the monsters were at least suitable for training. I wonder where in the contact is prescribed mutt on the interlocutor, thought Hyunwoo, listening to the endless grumbling of Makaka. It was so quiet before. Why are you talking now? He asked the Monkey King. What do you mean to piss off? Hyunwoo was already thinking of cracking the stick, aka hard drive harder. But just in time, the stupid labyrinth mobs showed up. Crocodile Face came up. Makak suggested that the hermit not chop at full speed, but learn basic bailout stick techniques. Okay, let's begin, said the Shaolin hermit and swung his staff. The first crazy catwoman took the throne in the manner she built for the hermit. This throne she had made smaller and not as luxurious at his request, but now the two of them wouldn't fit in here together. But on the other hand, you can sit on your knees, the student dreamed. But she was interrupted with a report by a guard. That's the one. The innocent maiden blushed pink. She almost fainted from the excess of feeling. The hermit was too good. Don't peek, said the Empress of Dragons, embarrassed, to the experienced demon Loli. Why not, since that's the case? Asked the ancient priestess of the Loli. I'm leaving, the contract girl dutifully bowed out. She could still see everything from the inside. The embarrassed cat reopened cautiously, uncovered her treasure, and sprawled on her throne in the pink drool of a passionate, innocent maiden. She launched into lengthy, girlish, fantasy-soaked reveries. They had nothing to do with reality, but that didn't stop the maiden from dreaming. A little more, and the girl would not have been brought back from the dream world. She pressed the folder of photos right to her heart, as if she were hugging a teacher. I would have stayed on the throne drooling, but I heard a noise. Who is it that came crawling in uninvited? The first student asked angrily. The one who doesn't need an invitation, replied an equally defiant second student. The masked warriors still posed a problem for her, so it was best not to put up a fight, Agent Rosa decided. You came to stretch your buns, so can we help? Asked the Empress the guest. Her buns are perfectly fine, trim, and smooth, but here she is for the deal, said the second student. The master likes mine better, Agent Rosa smiled and got down to business. It's about the pictures she's holding, Rosa said, and pulled out the exact same gray envelope in typography. She gave her rival a sly glance and pulled out the contents. Bug! The Dragon Empress wailed, but Rose stopped her. Not only did Miryung come to borrow a photo before publication, but Rosa showed up for it. The mishap is that now everyone had their own set of photos, and Rose showed up for a fair exchange. Haven't, she guessed, the first Catwoman, changing from anger to mercy. Rosa took the photographs out of the envelope and beckoned them like a jewel. These pictures don't you want? Spread her web, Agent Rose. Saliva flowed treacherously from the corner of the delicate lips of the first candidate for concubine. The Monkey King watched the mad hermit's progress through his live feed. Hyunwoo's actions impressed even the experienced Makaka, but he still had his doubts. The hermit effortlessly removed the valuable crocodile skins and ended it all with a pathos-driven finishing blow through which the power of absurdity could flow. Can this bald monkey handle it? The hairy Monkey King asked himself. At first, the actions of the mad hermit were clumsy, too reliant on force, but as he used it, he got better and better at sensing the distance and the rate of extension of the bailout stick. The essence of the bailout stick is that it can be both a melee and ranged weapon. With a wide grip, you can wield the stick like a spear, shortening like a dagger in close combat, quickly switching between the two. It all depends on how to hold the bailout stick, and so the art is hard to learn and takes time, Makak pondered. Hyunwoo crumbled the monster meat one by one while holding the dough rolling pin correctly. In an instant, the hermit extended his telescopic baton and drove it into the muzzles of the tall reptiles. With only a couple of grumpy Makaka's advice, the hermit quickly got the hang of it. The kid is definitely a genius, realized the Monkey King after all the observations. The hermit pulled his shoulders, the unfamiliar movement and exercise making them a little stiff. Training with electric had not gone to waste and was still helping him learn new skills. His entire training consisted of endless jousting, and he learned those lessons well. In battle, every step and movement is important. You should think about good things and kill whoever you are ordered to, remembered the hermit. But Hyunwoo had studied more than just that, the style of attacks, the ways of all-round defense, in endless variations over 100 years. But precepts also solved a lot of things, greatly reducing the debt of the path of learning. Any fighting technique is now his forte, said Hyunwoo in the middle of the mountain of crocodile corpses. Cheater, Makaka thought to himself. Just very diligent, the mad honors student thought to himself. Will there be more instruction? The hermit asked the monkey boastfully, and muttered that was enough for now. Mangaka's portmanteau was almost discharged, assessed the mad hermit. No need to use the bailout stick anymore? He asked Makak. And he agreed. Hyunwoo had mastered the weapon sufficiently. How about using the digging stick in conjunction with the chicken dragon force? Monkey King asked. Thinking, Hyunwoo replied. But why did Makak ask? He thought instead of answering. What that could mean the mad hermit didn't understand. A disappointment awaited at home. Mangaka's porta-potty didn't work on the chicken dragon ball. The power of the chicken dragon could not be used, and will not be used for the time being, Monkey Face clarified. I had traveled to the labyrinth for nothing. The hermit was upset, tasting the deception. It seems the master is angry. I will come back later, said meekly slave Anya. He got a contract again, this time from Rita's Suits, and with pretty good terms, too, the slave girl reported. 2 sly cats were standing right there. If the hermit could read faces, he would have noticed the first one blushing. It wasn't a bad offer, the hermit appreciated, but he didn't look interested. Just say no. He threw away the contract. In his spare time from his main tasks, he preferred to loiter. There was enough money without that. He leaned back on the back of the sofa. Why work when there was so much slave labor around? The hermit thought. Isn't it wonderful to do a master photo shoot? Agent Rose smiled sweetly, squeezing her eyes shut. Again, resented the hermit. But he was gently and decisively taken aback. It was not at all necessary, quipped the apprentice. Such an investment would definitely benefit the master. There is no such thing as a lot of money. The apprentice stood her ground. He was lucky he didn't see Miryang's face. That's someone who could give away their plan head-on. What do you think first, Koshkojena? He suddenly distressed the student with a question. The woman hesitated to answer, but the goofy hermit still didn't read the atmosphere. Pictures are good, squeezed the tomato-red innocent maiden. These two are conspiring, suspiciously, even more so than when they are rivals, the hermit thought. And not so long ago we were like cat and dog, fighting about everything. They look like they've become friends. The mad father came to an illogical conclusion. At the same instant he received the system notification, Av whipped out an invitation to him. Just in time for him to slip away from the heavy questions of the persistent female students. But what a mess! He looked around the room, and the drooling android girl. Get up, you digital slob. He pressed the hibernation exit button. Just worked up, the girl said when she woke up. Where does all this food come from? The hermit asked, and learned that digital food can be endlessly replicated in this dimension. Convenient logic, the hermit appreciated the benefits. Might as well move here, he thought, but wondered aloud if he had managed to find out anything about the developer. The secret level on the 12th floor, with significance, pronounced the extracted information the android. The 12th, the topmost, recalled the hermit's meager knowledge of the tower. The search designates it as the original developer's apartment, but what that means, the hermit will have to figure out for herself, she said. But how to get there? Asked a hermit with topographical cretinism. A blind man's compass, he suggested. Trouble? He saw the android's concerned face, but she shook her head. It would be fine. But there's some but, the hermit asked.